Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 10 of the Filmocity podcast. I'm Freddie.
I'm Anna.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shaden.
And today we are talking about the Netflix movie Enola Holmes,
Yeah.
starring Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill and Sam Claflin. That's his name, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I wasn't too familiar with most of the cast.
So, Enola Holmes is about Sherlock Holmes' younger sister, and the story is basically she is growing up by herself, or like with their mother. The father, I think, died very early on, and the brothers have gone on to be famous detectives and scholars and all that. So it's just Enola at home with her mom, played by Helena Bonham Carter. Mysteriously, one day the mom disappears and she leaves sort of a trail for Enola to follow, and that's where the movie starts, sort of thing. Yeah, what did you guys, any initial opinions of the film? What did you think after you saw it?
I enjoyed it. I actually really liked it more than I thought I would, because I remember hearing you guys watch it a few weeks before I did, and all I remember hearing was, "I hate Millie Bobby Brown." From Anna. And so I went into it thinking, oh, she's a bad actor. I've not seen Stranger Things or anything else that she's in, so I wasn't really too sure. But I think she did a good job. I didn't actually know she was British, so I thought the accent was actually a play the whole time. But yeah, no, I thought it was a good movie, actually. It was very engaging, made you wonder what was going to happen next. And I love Helena Bonham Carter's character. She's cool. She's a good actress.
Yeah, Helena Bonham Carter was perfect in that role.
Yeah, she just fit the role perfectly, I think. She plays a good mother. She's just that quirky character that everyone aspires to have as a mother type thing.
Yeah.
She's from Harry Potter, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Charlie, every Tim Burton film.
Her and Johnny Depp always play like either partners or like friends in Tim Burton's films, and they always end up like killing each other.
Yeah, I remember her as Charlie's mum from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's where I first saw her.
Oh yeah,
Mrs.
right.
Bucket.
Yeah.
What a name. What did you think of the film, Freddie?
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it as well. Because I'd seen the trailer beforehand, and the trailer looked so like cookie cutter, like just like not good, like a standard sort of like TV movie. I thought like it moved along very well, like it was paced well. I thought the acting was really good. I thought Millie Bobby Brown was charming as hell. I thought most of the actors did a really good job. I think this film is directed by I don't know if you guys have seen this show Fleabag. It's like it's oh yeah, you've seen it? Yeah, it's a fairly new or recent show. It's gotten like super great reviews like across the board. It's been like this really good comedy show, and this has the same director, and he does a lot of the things that he does in Fleabag, sort of have the character or the main character like address the audience, like break the fourth wall and just talk straight to the camera. That stuff can get like annoying sometimes if it's like overdone, but I thought it worked pretty well in this one.
They didn't overdo the breaking the fourth wall. It was used very selectively, which I thought was good. Because they did it once, I was like, oh, that's clever. And then they did it a lot later down the track. I was like, there it is again. It was quite good. I enjoyed those little audience interactions.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to feel like the Shaden of the group. But I went in and I didn't really, not that I specifically like hated Millie Bobby Brown, I just didn't really like her. I didn't understand all the fuss about her. I do love one thing out of it, and that's Sherlock. And
we knew that.
Upset at the start when I heard that they were going to make something new about Sherlock Holmes, and I knew she was involved, and I was just like, no way, please don't ruin this for me. But I ended up liking Millie Bobby Brown at the end, surprisingly enough. I think it was good to see her in something that wasn't Stranger Things and wasn't just like music videos and stuff, because I'd much prefer her normal accent, and I think that this was definitely like a fun movie, and
I agree with that.
It was very entertaining. And it was actually quite fun to watch. I was very stubborn at the start. I was like, there'd be something fun happen or something funny happen, and I'd be kind of like, in the back of my head, I'd be like laughing at it, but I'd be trying like to hold it in, because I was like, no, I said that I didn't like this movie.
You don't want to admit that you actually
enjoyed it. Not going to let myself enjoy it. But then I like maybe like 10 minutes in, I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm just going to watch the movie and like have fun with it. And I did, and it was really cool.
Woo! Well, that's good.
Right, Shaden.
What do you think, Shaden?
I mean, it strays away from the whole cookie cutter like Netflix film, which is actually surprising. I wasn't expecting it to be a bit more unique. Saying that, I feel like some of the moments are kind of predictable, which isn't really good for a whole mystery kind of thing. But I mean, overall, the set pieces are fun. There's interesting like moments and ingenuity that she does, which it's fun to watch. I think Millie Bobby Brown does a good enough job. I think Henry Cavill as Sherlock is actually amazing though. It's like perfect. So I'm excited to see if they do anything with him down the line. I'm not sure if anything's been announced. So yeah, I mean overall, it's not a bad watch. I wouldn't say it was a masterpiece by any means, but if you're interested in just chilling out one night and throwing on a Netflix film, then this is not a bad choice.
Would you rather watch this or Happy Halloween?
Yep, yes, this.
Yeah, I very much think of this film in the context of like a children's film, like a kids movie. Just like in that context, I think it's like one of the better ones we've had in like maybe this year at least, for like younger people to enjoy, because it doesn't talk down to like the audience, and I think it like treats its viewers, even though it's made for younger viewers, it treats them like intelligently, and it doesn't like spoon feed them like tons of information all the time. Had I been like 10 or 12 or whatever seen this movie, I would probably have enjoyed it way more than I do as like a 28-year-old, but I still could find a lot of enjoyment in it.
I get what you mean. Has Henry Cavill played Sherlock before, or is this the first time we've seen him like this?
First time.
Yeah, he did a good job. Like, I thought he was reprising a role for some reason. I'm not sure why I thought that, but he did really well. He was barely in it, but I thought his appearances were, his accent, or the way he said, Enola, it was really cool. Yeah. Enola. He's all like that side character, and it just makes you sort of want to see the other side, if that makes sense. His perspective on everything, or from his, his story. Like, while this is happening in the background kind of thing. Yeah,
well, not to like spoil anything, but the film kind of ends in a way where they're setting it up for sequels, and it seems like he's gonna be more involved in the second one if they get to make one, because this is based on a book, and I think there's like 2 or 3 more books or something like that. So if they want to make more, they have like source material for it.
Well, hopefully they don't fudge it up like every sequel, prequel almost, except Spider-Man 2. That was a good sequel. And Empire, that was also a good sequel.
You're missing about 50 good sequels.
There's a couple other good sequels. Those are the ones that just come to my mind straight away. One person I thought was really scary was Lindhorn, the guy who's chasing after Tewksbury. That guy was freaking terrifying, man. His character just dirty and grubby, and like the sharp nose vibe. Fuck, that was terrifying. He scared me. Yeah. I wanted him to die.
Yeah, and like the film is like surprisingly violent too. Like there's a scene when him and Enola gets into some fisticuffs. And I was like, damn, they're taking this like far. I did not expect that.
It was not like a childish acting like a few type things. It was actually full on like fucking choreographed fighting, not just a couple of weak punches. That was pretty insane. Yeah. One thing that stood out to me was the very questionable animation at some points. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like there were some scenes of the cityscape when they were like revealing the city or like the train and stuff. It was really not good animation. Maybe it was just me, but I noticed it. I was like, no, that's fake.
Was the train fake?
Oh yeah.
Oh, not the train. I've seen some behind the scenes and how they did some of the practical effects were really good, but the CGI just in some parts when they were animating the city, like at the end, when they go up over the cityscape and the chimneys on the roofs, they're all really badly animated in.
And apparently this film is getting like sued.
Oh shit!
What?
The Conan O'Doyle estate. Conan O'Doyle is the guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, I heard about this.
There's like 2 versions of Sherlock Holmes, because I think he wrote him. The first version of Sherlock Holmes, I think, is the one that we all know, where he's kind of like, very cold and just like problem solving, and Henry Cavill in this film is like very sort of like warm, and like friendly. And apparently he wrote, let's see if maybe I got this backwards, but apparently he wrote the first Sherlock to be kind of cold and all that. And the first Sherlock is the Sherlock we see in this film. And then I think he went off to like World War I or II or something like that, came back and wrote Sherlock again. And that Sherlock was the very like cold one, which is the one that they have sold the license to. So that's the one that like Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch and all these people play. And this is apparently the Sherlock that the state argues is the Sherlock that was written before. So it's like they're suing them for using a Sherlock that's too emotional. I don't know if it has gone through yet or not, but yeah, they're at least suing them for.
He was warm, as in like he obviously cared for his sister, but it wasn't blatantly obvious. He did sort of like hesitate at times, like as if he didn't want to admit like I care for you.
Yeah.
He'd like sort of like be on like.
Yeah.
When was this film set? Was it before the war or after the war?
This is like 1800s, isn't it?
This is
This is way before.
So they kind of have a case, I
This
guess.
is set way before.
It's set in 1884.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so they have a case, I guess. But I mean, like, just because a character acts differently, it surely means that if you've sold the license, you've sold the license, right?
Yeah, like, have you sold the license?
Yeah.
They kind of, surely, unless it's said in writing,
And that
Sherlock must be cold.
That comes down to interpretation as well, which usually doesn't fly very well.
Yeah, is there anything that you guys like sort of didn't like about it? Sort of criticisms?
I feel like the start went on for too long.
Yeah, I agree with that. I felt that the ending, even though I thought the film up to that point was sort of well paced and fast flowing, I thought they could easily have cut like 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah, it did a lot of world building where I don't think it was completely necessary. I mean, like, yeah, but we all know what England is, and we all know the history of England, right? So it's like, it felt like a bit too much. Overall, it wasn't too bad in terms of pacing. It was just the start was a bit long for me. That's why I was initially kind of put off by it, because I was like, I started watching it and I was like, God, how long until we get into the adventure and shit? Yeah, and I was surprised that the train sequence was actually so early on, because that was something that we saw a lot in the trailers, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. But I thought it was going to be more of like a kind of ending thing.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. Yeah, look like they're on a train,
climax,
they're gonna die, yeah, type thing. But no, that was just a quickie.
I don't know if we're doing any spoilers, but I really did not expect anyone to get a shot. That was one thing going into this I did not expect to see. Yeah. So I rate that, but...
it's an M-rated movie.
Is it?
Well, PG-13 in America, which is M in New Zealand.
Oh, sure.
So. But that's probably because of the...
The gun, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, there was actually some good horror elements to the end of it as well.
Yeah.
Like, not horror, but suspenseful.
Yeah, the dark corridor when that creepy big-nosed man is,
But how the hell did she not see her just hiding in the corner of her room and then him behind the thing? It's like the way they shot it made it look so obvious that they were there. But I don't
perspective,
know.
He was down a long corridor.
Yeah. So I don't know.
How about you, Anna?
I mean, there were a lot of issues that I had with this film as a Sherlock fan, but I'm not going to get too into them. But I do own, like, every box set of every version of Sherlock that's ever been made on television. I have, like, a case file, and you pull it out of the case, and it's all the DVDs. It's pretty fucking cool.
That's some fan dedication.
I didn't think that this film would make me hate Sam Claflin, who plays Mycroft. And Mycroft is he's always been an asshole character. Like,
he was an asshole.
There's nothing...
Fuck that guy.
Like, maybe... Yeah, like, maybe in the BBC version we like him a bit more because Mark Gatiss, who's also one of the show's creators, he's kind of got this, like, awkward, like, warmth with the character. And he's very easy to, like, follow and, like, kind of be like, you're not too bad, that sort of character. He's the guy that you love to hate, sort of thing. I thought this version of Mycroft was really weak. I don't think it's going to be very well remembered.
Having not seen a lot of Sherlock Holmes before, I'm not really too familiar with that character. I thought he was an asshole. So, like, I mean, but obviously you're a huge fan with a big case file of every bloody version of this guy and his character, so you would know more than us.
Yeah.
It would be like us comparing, well, it would be like a non-Spider-Man fan comparing Spider-Mans.
I guess it depends how you look at it. I mean, obviously that was the intention, was to make him an unlikable asshole. I feel like sometimes it was probably a bit overbearing, but I mean, I kind of got the idea that they were going for. So, I mean, I didn't mind that too much. I just already knew that I wasn't going to like this guy because of what he was doing. So,
Yeah, I mean, he definitely feels like the villain of the film.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there is really no, like, clear, like, main antagonist, right? Like...
Except for the old lady at the end.
Yeah, but that was like, that's not an antagonist.
Yeah.
That's a... You didn't
That's
see her
just a
at all
bitch.
throughout the whole film.
She's just a bitch.
Like, if that's your antagonist, then that's a cop-out, right? Like, I mean, we come from a time now where we've had some of the best antagonists of all time. Like, the Joker, Thanos, all that kind of shit. Having a clear antagonist might have helped this film. I'm not too sure. It kind of depends what they would do with it. But... yeah, I feel like that was something that I kept trying to figure out, which might have been their intention again, but I just found it kind of exhausting who the actual antagonist was meant to be, because I was stuck between three people and I was like, oh god, it's like Spider-Man 3 all over again.
Yeah, Venom, Sandman, and New Goblin.
Yeah, at the same time, I feel like you didn't need a main antagonist.
Well, yeah,
You
but
had
exactly.
all these characters kind
Exactly.
of just intertwining, and it was quite... not to say that it was a messy storyline, but it was very much just intertwined with all these different ones, and you're kind of just following her along. But it says here that, canonically, Sherlock himself describes Mycroft as the smartest sibling by far, but is also extremely lazy. But in this adaptation, he's described as bitter, and he definitely, I feel like he lacks Sherlock's, like, detective investigating skills, which is something he's originally kind of more known for. So I don't like change. I don't like how they changed him like that.
Alrighty, let's break into our areas. Freddie, what do you think from an actor's standpoint? What do we think of Henry and Millie and Sam and Helena?
Well, like I said, I thought that Millie, I think she has like this innate charm, which I think is sort of her star power thing. She's just really charming. I can't say that it's not like a performance that's gonna blow anyone away. I don't think that, I mean, I'm sure she did a lot of work, but I don't think it's one of those things where,
You spend months
really,
prepping.
Living the character, getting into it. Because, I mean, it's even though it's set in 1884, I feel like they've done a decent job of making it relevant. Like, it feels like it could almost have been set today and the characters wouldn't have changed all that much.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
understand.
like I said, I think she carries the film well, because she is in almost every single scene. Henry Cavill as Sherlock, when I first heard it, I was like, that's a very odd choice, because he's this... I mean, when you think of Sherlock, you don't usually think of like the biggest dude in the gym, which, Henry Cavill is. But I thought, yeah, he's also extra. He's like all around, the cast is like very charming. It's just like a bunch of good-looking, charming people that you like to watch perform. Yeah, like I can't really say that like anyone was stood out as like they were doing exceptional work. I don't think there was if there was a weak link in the ensemble, I think that's Louis Partridge, the guy who played Tewksbury.
Yeah,
Probably the
I get that.
He was fun.
yeah, he was fun. And I haven't seen that guy in anything before, but I mean the whole cast is like superstars, and then him. So I mean he had a lot to like work against. Everyone was doing really good. Frances Delator is in this, the old woman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It reunites 3 characters from Harry Potter.
Yeah, oh yeah, true. And I love anything she's in. So I was just happy that she popped up. Everyone did a good job. I don't really have that much to say about it, really.
Yeah, I agree with you about Lewis. He almost felt like he was a bit of a whiny boy at points.
I think that was meant to be his character, though.
Yeah, that just annoyed me. People who whine are just shut up, all right? I'll smack you in the face. That's all I think when I hear those kind of... Like how you hated Mycroft. I didn't hate him. He was fine. I just didn't like when he whinged. But that's because he's a rich white kid. What do you think from a storytelling perspective, screenwriting perspective, Anna, Florence?
I thought it was actually done quite well. Like, we did jump around a lot and interact with a lot of different characters, but I think it was easy enough to follow, even when characters were kind of popped in and out. Like, we kind of jumped back to see your brothers doing this and that, and then Tewksbury's doing something else. It was easy enough to kind of be like, oh, this is where we are now. Cool, let's keep going this way, It's always different writing for fourth wall breaks. I think they were done quite well, and the way, like, I'm no expert in the lingo from 1884, but I think the way they kind of modernized it enough that when she was talking directly to us, she was saying phrases and words that we recognized, and like it is definitely more of a kids movie, but I think it wasn't too like old school, I guess would be the word, because they spoke very differently to how we do now, and I think it was very important to have some of that lingo in, like obviously the trailer moment where she like looks at the screen, she's like, "'Tis I," which I fucking hated, but it's okay because that's how they spoke, and there's a few other words that they use that I didn't actually know, and I did Google to be like, I wonder what this means, and it's just a fancy way of saying something super basic. I thought majority of the dialogue between characters who were just interacting with one another, I think it was done quite well. There were definitely, there was many moments where I think they kind of over-explained it and kind of milked it a bit. But yeah, overall, it was easy to follow. I don't have too many problems with it other than a few cheesy lines.
That's expected for a kids movie though, or a movie based for a younger audience, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shaden.
I feel like in terms of directing, it does sway away from that kind of cookie cutter Netflix style, but it still has hints of it in there. It kind of plays it a bit safe. I feel like some of the characters, if not, were a bit overwhelming in terms of just the way they were saying their lines was kind of overbearing at some points, and it all did seem very magical and kid-like, which is, I guess kind of expected.
Childlike, Shaden. The word is childlike.
Well, shit. I thought this movie was meant for goats. So, it switches things up a little bit from what you would expect from a standard Netflix film. There is definitely a bit more stylization that comes into play. It is meant for, like, younger viewers. It's kind of a lot more relaxed in terms of the storytelling. I mean, it can be seen as a fun adventure as well, so that always helps. But, yeah, I mean, I honestly, I didn't mind the style. I think it was interesting. It started to get a bit overwhelming at the end of it when it's like, alright, well, I've had to sit through like 2 hours of this, and it's kind of annoying at this point. But, I mean, yeah, it's honestly a strong film. I mean, looking at his Harry Brad career so far, it's, under 10 films, so honestly. And this is definitely, solid for someone who doesn't look like they've made anything that's been a massive hit, so...
No, only like TV. I think he's pretty much only done TV except for this.
So cinematically, it's not bad for someone who's usually a director.
There was no need for this movie's like 2.5 hours long or something like that. There was no need for that.
Netflix probably were like, you need to make the movie at least 2 hours or we're not taking it. So they made it 2 hours and 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's definitely a Netflix movie.
Yeah, if it's 1 minute, it's 1 hour, 59 minutes and 59 seconds, we don't take it.
It's very much, it's like had this been like a regular year and this would have been like a film going to the theaters, I would have been like, wait for it to come out on Netflix. Like, it sits perfectly where it is right now.
Oh yeah, it is in a good spot.
I wouldn't have seen this at the movies.
No.
Honestly, if we weren't recording for this podcast, I wouldn't have seen it at all. But
I think it was worth the watch. I don't regret watching it.
See, I don't tend to get into these kind of films as much. But I mean, for what it is, it's good. It's alright.
Just because it's not A24.
Yeah, I'm never going to give anything that's not A24 of an A.
From my perspective with old camera boy, so I definitely appreciated the practical effects. There wasn't really much to say about the cinematography, in my opinion. I don't remember anything standing out, but I do remember watching it behind the scenes, especially on how they filmed the train scene, which was really cool. They did have a real train. They had a proper built train running along tracks and a camera going alongside it, and they were just in a big green screen studio with Tewksbury hanging out the door and everything before the tunnel, before he gets pulled into the train again when the tunnel is approaching and he's about to get whacked. That was really cool, seeing how they shot all that. If the animation CGI was better on them roofs and the more further distant away shots of the train, it might have been better. There was a couple that I did really like the shots when they did just get off the train and they were going through the fields, like walking to safety. London, when they were walking to London, I did really like those.
They're really pretty.
Yeah, it was a very pretty scene, very very colourful. Like I always say, I'm a big sucker for colourful scenes, and all the flowers that Tewksbury was pointing out like a fucking nerd. Yeah, that was a very pretty scene to watch. And the long distance shot of the train going over the bridge. I don't know where they shot that. It must have been like Scotland or England or something, because I guess like that's where all the cast was. So it makes sense, really. They can't travel.
No, I was just gonna say that about the sort of look of the film, and I guess if we compare this to Devil All the Time, which is also a Netflix movie, and most Netflix stuff shoot on like digital cameras, and Devil All the Time shot on film, and Enola Holmes has that look where like it looks almost like it looks so clean that almost everything looks kind of fake, and that always takes me like a good minute to like adjust to when I'm watching, because I'm like, this looks like a really, that's why I felt like the first 10 minutes I was like, this looks like a low budget TV show kind of thing.
Yeah, it was super HD 4K HDR.
When you compare it to like Devil All the Time, which really looks like, has that like film grain and like it really looks like a proper movie sort of thing.
Legitimate film.
So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like the Netflix look that a lot of their project has. At least for movies. On TV, I don't really care as much, but when it comes to like their movies, I think sometimes they look almost a bit too clean for me.
They go in for the super crispy lenses, super good sensors. The digital's great for all the details, but sometimes you see a bit too much detail, you know?
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, yeah, soon enough we'll be shooting those kind of things on our phones. All right, favorite scenes. Did anyone have a standout favorite scene that they really enjoyed?
Yeah, my favorite scene throughout the film was probably actually the ending. I felt it was shot well, it was dramatic. It did look a bit weird because it's like, how the hell can't you see them? Because from the wide shots, you literally couldn't see them. So that was kind of weird. But yeah, apart from that little thing, I think it was directed well. The acting was pretty good. You didn't really know what was going to happen next. It had that kind of good level of suspense. So I feel like that was one of the scenes that I really enjoyed, just because that was the end. No,
You would say that.
No, mainly, no, I think it was just like a well-made scene, and it was an interesting, I wouldn't say spin, but it was just nice to look at, and it was well acted as well, so.
Incredible performance from Millie and Lewis.
I will never say Millie has an incredible performance.
Oh.
Shots fired.
I quite liked the fighting.
Yeah,
I quite liked that.
in the warehouse with all the explosives.
Yeah, I mean, I like action scenes. I also quite liked the scenes in the field after they got off the train, because I thought it was very pretty, and I very much like nature and stuff, and I was like, oh, we're in the woods now. And it looked really pretty, and I'm glad he got a fucking haircut because it looks stupid.
Yeah, he looks like less of a bitch that way.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yes.
Less of a daddy's boy. I personally liked the fighting scene in the warehouse with all the explosives too. I was just waiting for the moment when something was going to explode. Too bad there wasn't like a typical slow motion shot, but that would have been too corny and I would have hated it. Which is kind of a good thing, I guess, that it didn't have it. But yeah, that was very well shot, I think. Well choreographed. That was very cool. And the shots outside when just before I think they go inside as well, and he's like beating her to shreds. I enjoyed that fight scene. It was very good.
Yeah, it was very good. I think my favorite is one scene towards the beginning of the film when she's in the tree and Sherlock is on the ground.
Oh yeah, and she's drawing.
I think it's just how like aesthetically pleasing it looked, more than maybe like the context of what they were talking about. But yeah, that one stuck out in my head.
Yeah, that was a pretty nice shot as well. Yeah, it felt like a nice bonding moment between the two, because it felt quite tense when they first meet up again, and it's like, oh, they don't even want anything to do with her, they just want to find their mum. But then he opens up and he's actually a nice guy, he's not being a dickhead. He's not being the cold guy that he was contracted and paid to be.
I have a couple points and a piece of trivia. Another point I have is the marketing for this film. I mean, like, I saw a few posters around, and I saw the trailer maybe like once, but every time someone was talking about it, I'm in a few Sherlock groups on like Facebook and stuff, and they were all like, oh my god, I've seen this everywhere and all that. And I was sitting here thinking, if this is like meant to be such like a big film, I've seen like 2 sets of like advertising for it. It wasn't even like on the coming soon for Netflix until like very recently. On the poster, on the main poster that they have, she looks very different to what she does in the film, like the way they kind of portray her. She seems very like stubborn and like wishful thinking sort of stuff, when in the film she's much more like bubbly and stuff. And I think that if they'd chosen something like that, it would have been a bit more appealing and made a bit more sense.
Yeah, it does look very serious in the poster. There's not like any fun aspects to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix isn't. They're not great with their marketing at all, I think. And then like when they drop something, like if you don't know it's coming out today, they usually don't like highlight it either. So you have to like go look for it.
Well, most of the time, if we're being honest, you see trailers. Well, you see trailers on YouTube and you see them on Facebook. And with Netflix, I guess they're the only person, except for the actors, that could really distribute those. Whereas with like Disney, for example, when they release a new Pixar film, they share it on every fucking Pixar film's Facebook page. So Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and WALL-E, they all share the same thing for like, you know, What's Inside My Head Pixar movie type thing, whatever that thing's called. Yeah, that one. So they all share it, and it just gets shared around so much. And same with Marvel. You know, if a new Avengers film comes out, Spider-Man will share it, Hulk will share it. Check out my new film. You know, whereas Netflix can only, you know, send it out. Or like, you know, who is the company for this? Legendary Entertainment. Oh, Warner Brothers could have done it, I guess. They're also a part of it, but the only Netflix film I've seen well in advance advertised and really was looking forward to seeing was the Ted Bundy one.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yes.
With Zac Efron. That was really good. Me and Zoe loved that.
Incredibly
With Zac
wicked
Efron?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fucking good. I love it.
It was really good.
You know, I actually...
Freddie has mixed thoughts.
Yeah, I hate Zac Efron, but I like that movie.
Oh, because
I
he
like
dies,
Zac
you
Efron.
loved
Like
it.
Zac
That's
Efron.
why.
I just don't like him. I think he's overrated.
You should
I don't
watch,
have any doubt that he's a good actor, but
His
I can't get over
travel
High School
show.
Musical.
He's really charming. He's super goofy.
I do actually want to watch that. I'll give him another chance.
I actually really like Zac Efron.
Of course
You
you
like
do.
High School Musical growing as a kid?
I actually do.
Yeah, Troy Bolton was alright.
He would be a perfect Nightwing if they ever do.
Yes. Or
Ooh,
Johnny Blaze.
okay.
No, I'm talking about the Human Torch. What's his fucking name? Johnny
Storm.
Oh,
Johnny Storm. That's right.
yeah.
Johnny Blaze? No,
Johnny
Johnny
Blaze.
Storm.
I'm
Johnny
Blaze.
Blaze.
I'm Johnny Blaze.
Johnny Blaze it.
Shit, it's not legal yet, boy.
Shit, damn, son. Close the drawer.
This film reunites 3 Harry Potter characters whom I love. So Fiona Shaw, Helena Bonham Carter, and Frances de la Tour. Everyone should know from the Harry Potter films because I don't understand why someone would not watch these. So Fiona Shaw played Mrs. Dursley, who was the most foul character.
That's the only person I can figure out.
Obviously, Helena played Bellatrix Lestrange, who was fucking awesome until Mama Weasley goes and fucking kills her. Frances, who plays, I can't remember her name, but she is the head teacher of the girls' school in Goblet of Fire, and she's Hagrid's love interest. There is a very good quote. I think it's really relevant. I think it's really cool. I think it's Edith talking to either Sherlock or Mycroft. They're talking about politics, and she says, she turns to them and he says, "You wish to not dabble in politics because you don't want anything to change. You don't want to disturb your own comfort so that those below you might have some, and those above you can face justice for their own." And I think that that's really cool. And I think it's quite relevant to world stuff.
Josh. I love Josh.
I refuse to do the podcast with Shaden anymore.
Sorry, Anna, but you hate me anyway, so it's alright.
I would hate you less if you were less of a dick.
I
So
guess
what
you
are
could say it to Dick Dean. Sorry.
Freddie, what do you rate this film?
I'd probably rate it like a 6 tis eyes out of 10. Enjoyable, easy watch. Drags on a little bit too long. Nothing like really spectacular, but
Nice. What about you, Anna?
I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. I very much enjoyed the look of the film, like the colour grading and all the shots and the cinematography. I thought it was quite clever. They didn't really overdo the fourth wall, which is what I thought they would when seeing the trailer. I very much enjoyed the cast, and the story was quite sweet. And I am going to give it a 7 Burn Gorman knows karate out of 10.
Alright, yeah, it was enjoyable. I liked it. I think Millie Bobby Brown did a good job. She was very charming and a bubbly character, which is always fun, easy to watch. And Mr. Burns, man, with his big nose, even though he scared me, he did keep me on edge and make me want to watch the film and see who he was going to kill, which he never did. Well, he tried. But yeah, I give this a 7 poorly CGI'd roofs with smoke coming out of them in the end of the film out of 10.
Well done, well done.
And what about you, Shaden? Lucky last.
Yeah. So, yeah, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, so that's always good.
Yeah, from you.
Yeah, so, I mean, but then again, it wasn't anything overly spectacular. I wouldn't have watched it if we weren't recording it again. I'll state that one more time. But I think I can happily give this a 6. I like it's from Jacob.
I like it.
Can we
It's
get
meant to be film related.
If you guys can count how many times Jacob says I like it in our podcast in total, I'll give you a Snickers bar.
Yeah, cheers, pal. Appreciate that, eh?
All right. So that's everything for this episode of the Filmocity podcast. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening.
If you have any suggestions for other podcasts you'd like us to talk about in the future,
Do you mean movies? You said podcasts.
yeah, I meant movies. Don't drop. I mean, you can drop us podcast recommendations, but we're not going to listen to them or review them.
I only listen to Crime Junkie, that's it.
Yeah, shout out to Lou later.
Yeah, shout out to Crime Junkie. Love you guys.
Let us know in the comments of our YouTube videos, or you can drop us a DM on Instagram. We'll always be looking out for those.
You can find us on Instagram at the Filmocity Podcast and on Twitter at Filmocity Pod. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you listen to your usual podcasts.
And as always, we upload every single Thursday at 7 p.m. New Zealand time. Make sure you turn on your notifications to stay updated. And we all wish you a very good day. From the Filmocity Podcast, thank you so much for watching.
Listening.
Listening.
See ya.
Watching on YouTube.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Think of one. The Phantom Menace was the best Star Wars film.
Whoa.
Shaden, shut
Shut
up.
up. Oh, fucking hell.
That was on the spot right there.
Only for Jar Jar Binks.
Misha.